Etsy sellers are furious, and they have every right to be, because, well, Etsy support, not good. And what I mean by that is we can't actually get in touch with a human about our shop or about our account if it got suspended or if a listing got suspended. We don't get any clarity. We've done videos in the past, and we're trying to get Etsy's CEO, Josh Silverman's attention. And so far, we have failed at that. We created a video recently where it was all about Etsy sellers speaking out. That video is over 13,000 views, 500 plus comments. Some of the comments have hundreds of likes on them, and we've got over 1,100 likes on that. But the YouTube algorithm just isn't giving it enough push. And we want to bring attention to that again. But more than that, we want to speak to what has happened since we published that video. And I received an email after that aired, and I had someone say, Scott, I've got a secret connection inside of Etsy that can get direct access to Josh Silverman, the CEO. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. And well, they gave me that inside connection. So what did I do? I gave it to Chris, and I said, Chris, I need you to send this off, and let's see if we get a reply. And Chris, I'm curious, where are we at right now with that reply?
Crickets, just basically ignored. Not a huge surprise, because reaching out in any of these contexts can be a bit of a long shot. I know when we had the mock apocalypse back last year, it took us, I think it was 12 different emails to actually get a response from somebody that knew what they were talking about. And we're still following up on these things. But it's funny because the further up in the chain you go, and we know these things are being opened because I'm tech savvy enough to include open trackers in the emails and the things that we're sending, right? And so they're being opened, and then they are being either forwarded on to somebody or just ignored completely. And it's kind of interesting, Scott, because we've heard more people come out. And in fact, the first time we talked about this, we got not just tens or dozens, but hundreds of stories from Etsy sellers who were dealing with this same issue. And as much lip service as Etsy has been paying to this problem, including going to some other Etsy influencers who we're fans of, right? Like anybody that can start to fix this issue, 100% on board. We will help you any way that we can. But paying a little bit of lip service and saying, hey, we're going to start to look at some of these kinds of things. The fact that it's still happening, first of all, which means they haven't taken any real action to crack down on whatever the issue is. And I understand that these things take time, but when there's hundreds of examples being shown, you can start to figure out what the common thread is and say, oh, it's this one weird line of code over here, or, oh, they all did this thing, or a good chunk of them did this thing. And it doesn't appear to really be slowing down or changing at all, which makes us feel, and everybody else that's selling on Etsy, like it's not important enough, and that we're just being ignored at this point.
Yeah, well, and I'll basically say who it was. It was Starla Moore. So Starla Moore had, I think she did a video on this exact topic, which I'm a fan of Starla. So Starla, great job. And, any way that we can support you and help you get the word out, we'll do it. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm creating this video, is because I want us to be able to get through so we get some answers. And I believe what Starla did, and maybe Chris, you know more about actually what went down, but from what I gathered is she had someone on the inside that would be able to look at some of the suspensions that came through and then give a reason or an explanation as far as why it was done, which I find kind of amusing. That why can someone on the inside do that for a handful of people? So I think the way it worked was like you had to submit your shop, and then Starla would take it and then send it off, and then they would pick which ones that they would do or something like that. I don't know the full thing, but it makes me question, like, why can't we just get someone on? Can't I get someone that will be willing from the Etsy team to come on here and try to explain to us? They have their own YouTube channel. They don't talk anything about this. They don't talk anything about, like, Oh, our customer support is here to help you. If you want to talk to a representative, call this number. There's none of that. Or even if someone is making over X amount, maybe they get someone. Like if you're in Facebook and you're doing Facebook ads or Meta ads, if you're doing that and you're spending a certain amount of money, you're going to get someone that you're going to be able to speak to. Okay. Yes, you got to spend a lot of money, but there's people. We did a video on Vlad from Tag Pups or Pup Tags, I think it is, doing $100,000 a month, gets suspended because he was $7 delinquent on an account that he forgot about. As far as I know. I mean, that was the story that he told, which I believe him. But it's like Etsy, we can't even get in. You can't get the attention, even if you're doing $100,000 a month. So what we want to do here is we want to bring attention to this. If you did not watch that first video, do us a favor and go to that video. We'll link it up in the description. If you want, you can do it right here. Like this, comment on this, let us know in the comments if you have a story that you want to share, that if this video gets the attention that we think it deserves, maybe they'll see it. Okay. If we get more votes on getting sellers support, who knows? We might actually make it happen. And the only way we're going to be able to make it happen is by you, someone in the community, helping us get this to get bigger. Okay. Or the other video that we did. So that's why we're doing this as an update. We're also doing it as like what's happened since. But I would just like to know in the comments right now, if you have a story to share, or if you have been suspended and you feel like you shouldn't have been suspended, let us know in the comments. Okay. And tell us a little bit about that. And again, maybe not even telling us, you're telling them, because hopefully this is going to get some airtime. And someone had said to me, they're like, Scott, if you get this thing big enough, it might make the news. I'm like, man, that would be amazing. Imagine if we got something that really took and went viral in the Etsy community, and then we got some airtime and we reached out to some media networks. Do you think we'd get attention then? Do you think maybe we can get Josh Silverman on this podcast or this, YouTube channel? Maybe, just maybe. That'd be amazing. He'll go on CNBC and all of these, major networks and talk about, oh, our gift mode did this, or, we're doing this to help sellers. Oh yeah, Josh, you're helping sellers, huh? How are you giving them support and not just a template that your support team is just pushing off to them? Okay. And I put in the thumbnail of this that this may be removed. It might be. I don't know. I'm kind of, throwing ourselves out there a little bit as far as like kind of coming at them, at you, Josh, in a way that we want your attention so we can go ahead and have a conversation. That's all we're asking. And I don't mean it has to be me. If you want to go through Starla Moore, go through her. I don't care. We just need answers. That's it. We need answers. If you really, truly believe that your platform is as good as it is, which I think it's a great platform, then don't you believe that support should be vital for people that are selling and that are really making your platform succeed? Like, honestly, and I'm talking like whether you're a small, shop or a large shop, the large shops don't even have an advantage. I received an email the other day that basically said more Etsy shutdowns. And it was from a viewer that said someone famous that was selling on Etsy got suspended. A pretty good size account got suspended, didn't violate anything. No explanation. Just sorry, you've been suspended. That's it. It seems like they're just shutting down without even looking at how it's affecting the Etsy bottom line. So it just doesn't make any sense. So Chris, I went on a little bit of a rant there, but this just gets me fired up. I mean, someone has to hear this. And the only way that we can do it is, I feel like, getting everyone together and going like, let's march in there. Come on, guys, let's go.
Well, and that's the thing, you said you don't care who they go through as long as they go through someone. And I think Starla Moore is a good place to start, right? But we need to be as transparent as possible. I know she had a way to submit the shop, and I believe what she ended up doing was she sorted through anybody that didn't have an obvious IP violation and then submitted it. But as far as I'm aware, and somebody can correct me in the comments, Starla, feel free to correct me, that's kind of where that process has stopped for now. And I understand that Etsy probably doesn't, from a legal perspective, right? Colin Stretch, who is their chief legal officer, has probably said, we don't want to go out and comment on all of these individually. And as nice as that would be, that's not even what we're asking for. What we're asking for is for you to solve the problem. ideally you give us a real reason and not a generic, you may have violated this section of the terms of service or this section of the terms of service. And Scott, you and I had a conversation about this because I said, it seems like they're going down the same rabbit hole that Facebook went down a few years ago, where they give you a really generic answer. I wonder why that is. And I did a little bit of digging into their chief legal officer. Turns out he's the former chief legal officer, or worked in the legal department over at Facebook Meta. So it's no wonder that they have that same policy. But I would say this needs to go beyond Josh Silverman. Yes, technically at the end of the day, he's the one that has control, but he also has the most things on his plate. We need to be reaching out to Nick Daniel, who is the chief product officer. Raina, who I'm not even going to try to butcher her last name, who's their chief operating and marketing officer. Rachana, who's the chief technology officer. And yes, Colin Stretch, who's the chief legal officer over there, to say, look, I understand that you don't want to put yourself in a weird, sticky situation where you say somebody violated this thing and they didn't violate it to the letter or whatever, but you need to write your policies and your terms of service in a legally coherent, but also English speaking way, or Spanish, or whatever language you want to put it in, as long as a real person can understand it. And then when somebody violates those policies, you need to tell us what was violated. Even YouTube, who is notorious for mislabeling things as violations of policies, at least has the gall to tell you which policy you may have generally violated. And a one strike thing, especially when you're mislabeling these things as policy violations, is not an acceptable solution if you actually care about sellers. I'm not saying we have to go to a 10 strike system, but saying, hey, the first time you did this, this is a strike against you. And they do that on the IP side of things, right? They suspend the listing before they suspend the account. Scott, we have a video that's gotten several 100,000 views about you reviewing somebody's video who got suspended after repeated violations on the IP side of things. Why are we not doing this for the other policies? I'm not asking for 10. Give me a warning and then strike the account, but at least tell me what has been violated before you delete somebody's source of income. And by the way, shoot yourself in the foot by getting rid of hundreds of thousands of dollars in listing fees, pay-per-click from the people who are successful that you're banning, even though they haven't actually violated your terms of service in any coherent or cognizable way.
So guys, here's what I want you to do is, if you feel Etsy needs to step up their game for support and you want them to give you that, then the first step in doing that is to get this video to be able to be seen. And the way that you can help do that is to like it, comment on it. And the comment can be just saying, yes, we need more support, or yes, I have been suspended and I was given no reason. And then maybe share some of your story. Do that. Okay. And if you are able to do those two things, it's going to help this video continue to reach more Etsy sellers. All right. And that will be the goal here. And like we said, whether you go, through, I'm talking about Josh Silverman, by the way. If you want to go through us, you want to go through someone else, it doesn't really matter. We just want someone in this community to be able to get answers directly from Etsy, and preferably by you. I mean, that would be amazing. So if you could do that, that'd be absolutely amazing. And then maybe we can help each other, Etsy sellers, Etsy, and become even bigger and more profitable. And the Etsy shareholders will love you for it. All right. So if you're watching this, you're an Etsy seller, there's what you can do to make sure that you can be heard.